Well, welcome everybody. So glad you came out today. When I scheduled this, I had no idea it was Super Bowl Sunday. But one of the men has assured me that our time will be done before. Anyway, I'm so glad you could be here. My name is Connie Davis, and you have seen me at the dinner with the doctor, although I've not been the speaker. I am a retired pediatric nurse practitioner, but because of my own health problems, I have spent a lot of time working on natural remedies. Did not learn that at OHSU, believe me. Um, Far from it. But there's a lot to learn with natural remedies. So today is going to be just the tip of the iceberg for you for some of the things that you can do. And one of the things I can't stress enough is natural remedies work wonderfully well, but they work different for different people. So I'm going to give you multiple options today. And the reason the multiple options is that you've got to try them on yourselves and see if they work, okay? But let's start with prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so very, very much for your love and your goodness to us, and that you have made so many natural things that we can use to help heal our bodies and also to prevent illness. And we thank you for your guidance today. We invite your Holy Spirit to be here with us, and that each of us will go home with some new knowledge and your blessing. I pray in Jesus' name, amen. The first part is going to be about colds and flus, the bugs we get during the winter. Then we will be having a break, and you saw the table out in the foyer. For live streaming purposes, that's why we're in here and not where we usually go. But we didn't want a lot of smelly garlic liquids here in the sanctuary. So when I'm done talking, we will do the samples, and they'll be out in the foyer. There are recipes for each and every one, and I encourage you to be brave. We also have water to follow them. And we have not given you a medicinal dose. This is just a taste, okay? All right, during the winter months, why do we get sick so much? Say that again? Oh, that's one of them, for sure. Okay. We are exposed to more bugs because we're inside more, right? We are. Our heated air in our houses tends to collect many more germs than when we have fresh air going through. And here, especially, we don't get much sun exposure to have the vitamin D helping us fight those. So I wanted to start today with ways to prevent these illnesses. So I hope you'll give me just a few minutes focusing on that before we get to, well, if it's too late and you've succumbed, what we need to do next. You have seen this list before with Dr. Arvey. Remember this? The laws of health. And disease never comes without a reason. There is always a cause that we have disregarded. Maybe we have been binging on sugar for the last 2 weeks because once you get it going, oh, it tastes so good. And then lo and behold, you get a terrible cold. Well, that isn't a surprise, is it? And we're going to talk about that. But first, we need to pay attention to the air we breathe. If you do not have some windows open just a little bit to help circulate the air during the winter, your house is just becoming a giant germ factory. So keep the windows open a little. I know that is hard when it's so bitterly cold outside, but especially in your bedroom. If you keep the rest of the house warmer, but have good air circulating. And then try to get outside at least once during the day and have some really good deep breaths of fresh air. We also need to spend time in the sunshine, and that is so hard. I have decided that here in the Pacific Northwest, if we get a nice sunny day, we should just declare it a national holiday, and we all get to quit all our duties and go outside and bask in the sun. That would be really nice, huh? You'll vote for it? Okay. So do whatever you need to, and I would highly recommend a vitamin D supplement during the winter time here, since we have no control over the sun, do we? The third thing is making sure that we get enough sleep. This time of year, it's a little easier to go to bed earlier because it gets dark way earlier than in the summer. At least we should be going to bed earlier, right? Sleep deprivation can lead to a multitude of illnesses, but what I want to focus on today is what a lack of sleep does to our immune system. Now, I'm not calling us rats, but in a study done on rats, they monitored the ones that were sleep deprived and drew their blood and found out that 20% of their white blood cells were gone because of their lack of sleep. And there have been other studies done on humans that have proved that sleep deprivation really impacts our immune system so that we're not able to fight off the illnesses, because it's our white cells that do the fighting for us. So if we're losing sleep, we're knocking out almost a quarter of our ability to fight off those bugs. So are you starting to see why our holidays so adversely impact us? We stay up because we're having friends and family over. We're eating high-fat, high-sugar foods. We're all shut in a house. Oh, and guess what? Then everybody goes home sick from the holiday. We also, as you mentioned about the high sugar content, does the same thing to our immune system as the lack of sleep. So if you are just ready to be ill, go out and binge on the sugar. And I'm sure that the bugs will come. We also cook our food more in the winter. In the summer, we do pretty good at eating more fresh things, stuff from the garden. And I'm not saying that it's bad to eat the cooked food. On these cold days, we need something to warm us up, but we also need to be focusing on making sure we get still the raw foods that can give us, what do we get from the raw? That if we cook them, it's gone. Enzymes, but what about something that's going to help our immune system there? Vitamin C. Vitamin C is easily killed, destroyed from our foods when we cook it, which doesn't mean we shouldn't cook them, but we still need to get those raw ones so that we are getting that vitamin C. Water, inside and out. I know that at this time of year, it is tempting sometimes to avoid a shower or a bath each day, especially as we get older, our skin gets really dry. But we really need that. The skin is our biggest barrier to preventing illness. And toxins are being excreted through our pores constantly. Even though we can't see that, it is happening. So we do need a shower or bath every day, and then clean clothes. Especially with man-made fibers, they can trap the toxins that are being excreted. And if you put those same clothes back on the next day, especially if you get warm doing exercise or your house is really warm, your body will then reabsorb those toxins instead of you getting rid of them. So some tips on how to avoid your skin getting so dry that you're cracked, and then it's not a good barrier either, is turn down the temperature, which is really a hardship for me. Oh, I like a hot shower. But it does tend to dry your skin out way more than if you turn the temperature down. And don't use bubbly products. It will dry your skin something terrible. The other good thing to do when you're in the shower or bath is finish your shower with 10 to 15 second cold water rinse. Any of you do that? Do you? Oh, I'm so proud of you. Yes, yes, yes. Well, it sounds terrible, and I think it is. It is terrible. The next speaker is my husband, and he faithfully does that every morning, but I hear him yelp every now and then when it's gotten too cold. And then, of course, wash your hands. This is the time of year. But we also need water on the inside of us. Being hydrated really can help flush out any germs that you're being exposed to. And so, how much do you need? Half your body weight in ounces. Yes. Which turns out to be about 2 to 3 liters per day. So that is hard to get to if you're not used to it. So I would recommend that you start like I did. I used to be a horrible water drinker. In fact, it made me nauseated to drink water, especially in the morning. And I decided that was a really bad health practice and I needed to fix it. So I started drinking just like 4 ounces of warm water when I got up. Oh, would feel like puking for a while. But I persisted. And now I can drink almost 2 full glasses of warm water. Now it's taken a while, but I challenge you to do the same and then keep that water going. If you can't remember, do what I did at the beginning. I set a timer. Okay, 10 o'clock, water break. And then it finally does become a habit, but it does take a while for it to sink in. Good job. Well, when you first get up in the morning, you know you've been in bed, so your insides are quite warm, and they will appreciate it much better if it's warm water. It absorbs into your tissues faster because your body doesn't have to work to warm it up. Okay? And that's true through the day. Ice water is not as well absorbed as warmer water. Yeah. Yeah. It is warm, but a slightly tainted water there. All right. And then the last thing of our laws of health is take your stress to the Lord. When we are first starting to get sick, we all need to just be pleading with the Lord to have his hand over us and help us get better, because I firmly believe the devil is ramping up all of the illnesses and all of what standard medicine has decreed as treatment for them. They're not working the way they used to. So we need his help. And claim this verse, Proverbs 3:5-8. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It will be health to your flesh. Isn't that a good promise? It promises us health and strength to your bones. So he's promised, and we can claim that promise, and he will honor it. But unfortunately, despite all of that, we do live in a world of sin with lots of illness. So for the rest of the time, I would like to focus on the things we need to do when you start feeling those bugs come on. The first thing, back up, not in the slides. I've got 2 recommendations for you that I have not personally tried, but I've had many friends try, and they say it works. At the first sign of a cold, drink a full glass of water every 10 minutes for an hour. Well, you'll spend the rest of the day in the bathroom, I guarantee it. But they swear that it stops their cold immediately. So I challenge you, try that. Or take a hot foot bath for 20 minutes. That sounds better to me, right? All right, so our first herbal thing is garlic. Garlic is a powerful antioxidant with antimicrobial, so it kills bacteria, antiviral, so it kills the viruses, and antibiotic, that's where the bacteria comes, properties. It also provides decongestant and expectorant effects. And the humble garlic clove can really help boost your immune system. So it does, taken to excess, you will not be exposed to bugs because everyone will smell you coming and stay far away. So I'm not suggesting that, all right? I've known a lady that when she came to church, you knew when she walked in the door, no matter where you were in church. So yeah, be kind to your family and don't do that. But Yes, I'm going to talk about forms very quickly here. All right. So, taking a garlic supplement or consuming garlic each day, you are 63% less likely to catch the common cold. And that's not an excess, that's just what the garlic will do for you. Okay? It also helps reduce the symptoms if you do get a cold by 70%. So if you regularly catch colds, I would highly recommend that you be taking garlic every day in one form or another. And here's your dilemma. So you have to decide what is best for you. In the garlic clove, when it's crushed, an ingredient, I'll call it that, called allicin is the active ingredient in garlic that helps kill all of those things that I just mentioned. Heating it destroys part of that. So you can take, I got my garlic here, you can take this, and if you're just using it as prevention, taking 1 or 2 a day will probably do the trick for you. But if you are really, really coming down with something, you want whole raw cloves of garlic. Yes. Oh, because you stink. All right. Now you can do the garlic several ways. One is called the no holds barred, and you just pop a whole clove in your mouth and chew it. Anybody can do that? Nobody? Yeah, a couple of you? All right. Yay for you. If you have a sensitive stomach, I don't recommend that way. But the other way is called garlic with training wheels. And so you can crush the garlic and mix it with a little bit of olive oil, let it sit for a little bit, and then spread it on bread or crackers. That helps your stomach so that it can handle the garlic a little bit better and not quite so shocking. You can mix it with some honey, too. That works very well because honey is very healing. Yes. 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 There you have a testimonial. She mixes it with honey and she loves it, but her husband won't stay with her. um, I cannot recommend garlic enough. It needs to be a staple in your kitchen and in your medicine cabinet. And just fall comes, start taking some garlic, and then you've got the whole cloves. But yes, I just heard somebody else yesterday telling me about that trick, and they said it works wonderful to stop a cough, too. Yeah. 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 Really? Molasses. Well, I highly recommend taking it after you've eaten so that you don't tend to burp it up so bad uh, if it's gone down with food. Oh, molasses. Try molasses, people. And molasses is good for you too. All right, our next miracle thing that God has sent us is golden seal. How many of you have tried golden seal? Okay, tastes absolutely terrible. It is a yellow powder. It comes from a perennial herb in the buttercup family. So if you are allergic to that, please do not try golden seal. But it has antibiotic effect, anti-inflammatory, and astringent properties, and it soothes mucous membranes, which is what we get so irritated when we have a cold or the flu. If you take it at the first signs of respiratory problems, golden seal can help to prevent further symptoms from developing, and I have proved that. In fact, my kids had a lot of respiratory infections when they were little before I discovered that they couldn't tolerate dairy. We cut out all dairy, and lo and behold, all the ear infections stopped. But I would do a mixture of these, and before they could swallow pills, we did a tea. And our daughter liked it. She said she liked it. She was about 3, and so I'd given her a cup of it, and I had turned around in the kitchen to do something else, and all of a sudden, I heard it all coming back all over the floor. So because it's bitter, it tastes very bitter. So if you're going to use the powder and not have it in a capsule form, I highly recommend that you mix it with something else because it's not going to go down very easily. But yes, you can do a tincture, but you can also make it into a tea. But that doesn't taste very good. All right. Oh, and by the way, golden seal can also help you reduce fevers and relieve congestion. So fantastic thing. Before I learned about oil of oregano, these two were my antibiotics. If I felt like I needed antibiotics, start on those right away. But we do have one more powerful. We'll get to that. Elderberry is our next choice. And I'm sure you've all heard of elderberry. It comes in lots of forms. Today I have a sample for you of a gummy. Now there are many, many elderberry gummies, liquids, syrups, all of those available. What I would caution you about is reading your ingredient contents because a lot of the elderberry, even though it's sweet, they have added a lot of sugar. So you're sort of counteracting what you're doing if you're taking a boatload of sugar along with your elderberry. And the gummies I have for you today are not sweet. It's divided in our household whether they taste good or not. So you are welcome to try and you can tell me what you think. All right. Elderberries are a traditional medicine. You can hear about them in pretty much a lot of different cultures because the berries contain high levels of a flavonoid, anthocyanin. I think I'm saying that right. And these flavonoids actually stimulate your immune system to work better. So that's one of the things that they can do. They also help you to fight mucus buildup and chest congestion by releasing components that combat the pathogens. In fact, I thought it was really interesting. The research I looked at said that elderberries fight flu infections like H1N1 by sticking to the virus, which prevents it from entering host cells. And one study found that elderberry could cut the time a person had flu symptoms by more than 50%. That's pretty significant, right? Instead of having it for 2 weeks, maybe less than one. They also have anti-inflammatory properties that help reduce your pain, all the aches that go along with a flu. And they help increase your white blood cell count, which we've talked about that we need during this time of year. One of the things to look for when you're looking at the ingredients for your elderberry product, though, not only to make sure it's not loaded with sugar, but a lot of them also have vitamin C and zinc added, and those are both good things to help you fight the viruses. So if you can find a good product with low sugar and both of those things, you've hit the mother lode there. All right, grapefruit seed extract. It's a natural antibiotic. Isn't that amazing? Antimicrobial, and antioxidant, but it can kill bacteria. And I'm sort of using those interchangeably, but they're not really. They can kill all kinds of infectious microbes, bacterial, viral, and fungal. And the main compounds in grapefruit seeds thought to be responsible for its ability to kill infectious agents are chemical compounds known as limonoids and, oh boy, I can't even say that word. So it starts with N. But this does come with some warnings. If you are taking a lot of other medicines, I would urge you to make sure that it's okay for you to have grapefruit interacting with those medicines because grapefruit seed extract works just like grapefruit at decreasing the effectiveness of those medicines. So may or may not be a choice for you to have on your medicine shelf. Okay? So consult with your provider. The next thing is oil of oregano. How many of you have tried that? Okay, you like it? Okay. It does. In fact, this is my big guns. I compare this to one of the most potent antibiotics that are available. The antibiotics oral, not something you would get in the hospital if you had sepsis or something like that. This is a small bushy plant that belongs to the mint family. So once again, you need to know the origin. If you have allergies to mint, you may want to take this with caution until you see if you react to it or not. They dry the leaves and stems, then they steam distill the plant to extract as many compounds as possible. And oil of oregano, just like the oregano you use in your kitchen, contains carvacrol, the main ingredient, and it's a type of antioxidant. And they both protect against toxins and fight fungal infections. So when you read the research, because no pharmaceutical company has paid for these studies, they always say may. So I'll read it to you as they report it, okay? It may fight bacteria, and also that it may protect against toxins. So it's really interesting. I recommend it, but here's my warning for you. It is the most caustic to your intestinal tissues. So if you have a touchy stomach, for sure that you have eaten a good meal before you take this. And then you still may have some heartburn or burping it up. So yeah, my husband can take this regularly and not have a problem. I can only tolerate 2 days worth, and then hopefully it's done its work, because after that, it has made my stomach hurt so bad I can't tolerate it any longer. So, oh, well, I would think so, but I'm not sure. Ah, okay. Okay. All right. Well, one of the good things about oil of oregano is that it has been proven to kill staph infections. And you know that staph is one of our antibiotic resistant bugs. And so this can be a good backup, especially if you've had some kind of staph skin thing, but also internally. Okay. What else did I want to tell you about oil of oregano? Yes. I have found that I don't stay on garlic the whole year. So, yeah, or I start garlic in the winter. Okay. Because yes, just like everything else, or else you need to increase your dose. So, all right, just a little bit more on oil of oregano. We did the warning. So, um, you want to use it sparingly. I like to buy the capsules so that it decreases my reflux from it, but you can take the straight oil if you so desire, or you can put it in your own capsules, however you want to do it. But then there tends to be some on the outside. So I just buy it like this, and you're welcome to look at these when we have the break. Yes. Yes, yes.
And then also, they don't recommend long-term use of oil of oregano.
Right, right. Because of the burning of your insides. Okay. And you should not use oil of oregano on children or infants. And it's also questionable about pregnant or breastfeeding women and people with diabetes. So, and I could not find why not with diabetes. Maybe somebody knows, but I do not know. Oil of oregano can also interfere with some medications, so you need to do some good research on your med list. If you all see Dr. Arvey, she could help you to look at your med list and know if this is a safe one for you. All right. Yes. If you get the essential oils, yes, you can. This one is made for internal use. I'm guessing you could rub it on your feet, but I'm not exactly sure. You'd have to poke a hole in them and squeeze it out. All right. Now, I don't have time to go over this today, but I'm giving you a handout that you'll get during the break on doing herbal sinus rinses and herbal steam inhalations. So you're going to want a kit like this or a neti pot to be able to do that. The warnings or the recommendations I have for you if you're going to do sinus rinses, make sure you use distilled water. Never, never use your tap water. Not well water either. It needs to be distilled. If you boil it, no, that's distilling it. So yes, that will work. Yes, make sure you let it cool.
Teaspoon of baking soda
Yes,
to 2 cups of water.
right.
Is that the equivalent of the packets
There's packets in here, and yes, that's equivalent.
if you want to
Okay.
just make it?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
But why we need to distill the water is because all of our water has some kind of bacteria in it, even though they have supposedly treated it. And you're introducing those straight into your sinuses, and you'll end up with a worse infection than you started if you're doing that. All right. One other thing about the herbal things. Oh, a steam inhalation is an excellent way to get rid of congestion. Now, we're going to have you taste a sample of something you can put in your mouth as a decongestant, but a steam inhalation will also help. And you can put a little drop of either a eucalyptus oil or the oil of oregano, and then breathe in that steam. All right, in the foyer, we have multiple samples for you to try, and I want to talk about those before you go to taste them, if I can find them. Flu balm, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's cayenne, garlic, lemon, ginger, hot water, some honey. Some people love it, some people do not like it, but it really works. If you do that the first day you are getting sick, and you do 2, maybe 3, so 1 in the morning, 1 at noon, 1 at night, I guarantee that it will either stop your symptoms or drastically reduce what you've got. Yeah, or it will kill you, one or the other. Now, if you love cayenne, you're going to love this. I have a friend who likes cayenne on everything, and so she loves drinking flu bombs. I personally don't like anything hot in my mouth, and I think it's terrible, but I use it anyway. The next thing is nature's penicillin, and the reason I'm giving you things that sort of, and I'm not keeping up with my slides, sorry. Okay, flu balm and nature's penicillin, you need to try and see what works for you. They've got some of the same ingredients. There's garlic in everything, and usually some onion. But nature's penicillin has got grapefruit, it's got lemon, it's got garlic, red onion, and orange. You can also put in some essential oils of peppermint and add to your potency if that makes it more palatable for you. But they all work to help fight off both bacterial and viral infections. Yes. Well, there's lots of recipes, lots of recipes. Okay, the other thing I want to recommend is this homemade decongestant. And you'll never guess what one of the ingredients is in this. It starts with honey and lemon juice, garlic, and red onion. But the last ingredient, ready? radishes. Radishes. Oh, it makes the most beautiful stuff. Wait till you see it. It's so pretty. It looks like a strawberry smoothie. Do not be prepared for that. But it works really well. And you can use 2 tablespoons once a day or more as needed. They said that, it usually takes 24 hours to start working, so that it's when you have that really thick mucus that you just keep coughing and coughing because it won't come out. And this is going to not only loosen that up, but help get it out of you. And yeah,
And then you like take the lid off and inhale it, and then you go to bed.
can you say again what you started with? I'm sorry, we didn't hear that.
Oh, it's called a shumin.
Shumin?
My mother's Italian, and so it's wine vinegar, and you boil it, and then you take a towel and you put it over your head, and you inhale this.
Oh, using it as the steam inhalation.
Go to
Okay.
bed, and a lot of times I would stop from having to go to the hospital or stay in the
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was homemade, always did the trick.
Okay, excellent. Okay, we also have, this is not something you're going to make, you'll buy this, but this is called throat coat. And if you're just starting to get an irritated throat, well, first you want to do all your treatments, but then for in between times, this actually has menthol in it and provides the best numbing of any cough drop I have found. So if you've got the cough and a sore throat, I highly recommend this. They've got several flavors, but the orange fennel, I think, gives you the best sort of anesthetic in your throat so that your throat doesn't hurt so bad. And we've got one for each of you to take, and you don't have to try that today, but you can save it till you have a sore throat. Yes, they do. I started with the tea, but this was handier because I could put this in my purse. But they do have a delicious tea that goes with that you can use. So these things are going to be your winter arsenal. Grapefruit, lemon, orange, and then your garlic. Always have your garlic there. Are there any questions before we go get samples? Things we haven't covered that you were hoping I'd mention?
Why is it that we aren't supposed to give honey to babies under 1 year old?
Because it has an aflatoxin that they can't break down. It doesn't hurt adults, but it hurts the infants. Yeah. Sorry, Jeannie. Pediatric provider knows the answer to that. Okay, I'm going to excuse you to go out. Oh, good. Yes, and use it. But we're live streaming, so they can't hear it. Yes. Yes, absolutely. That is excellent. Yeah, just have your honey garlic or honey oil, onion or honey garlic pot going there. All right. I'll excuse you to go out in the foyer, get your samples, and then please come right back in because we have still half of our seminar. My husband, Larry, who's a physical therapist, is going to be talking to us about how to deal with some of the aches and pains and ailments that we get. Jeannie? I get it at natural grocers. They are hard to find. They don't always have them. Fred Meyer has had them, but like I said, both stores, it's sort of and I think Country Village has it because I know I go out to Warrenton to shop and they have a lovely natural grocers and that's where I get mine. Well, it depends. Let me turn this off so I'm not. Okay, if I can have your attention, what'd y'all think? You're all still alive. Very tasty. Nobody's coughing. What'd you think of the elderberry? Did you? Really? Ah, I like the sweet ones. But these are the good for you ones. All right. There, I ordered them from Amazon. Okay. Did you see the jar? I left it sitting there so that you could see the label. So take a picture of that if you want to do it at home, or I can get it. We're having a couple technical difficulties getting Larry's stuff ready. So if you have questions, would you please raise your hand and we'll bring you the mic. It's not that I can't hear you, it's that they're live streaming this and the people then don't know what we're answering. So
Are these preparations effective with allergies?
it depends on what your allergies are. That's why I was trying to give you warning of what the ingredient is, like the golden seal, that it's coming from a buttercup thing, and then there was another one that was mint related. If you are allergic to those, you shouldn't be using them. But other allergies, oh, oh yeah, they're totally compatible. They're not going to hurt you at all. Let me get that jar and I'll show it to you. Thank you. How do you think you say this, Gaia? Okay, this is new product for me. I just was doing research on it, so I didn't remember what name it was. Gaia Herbs. And like I said, I ordered this off of Amazon. Yes.
This is a personal question, but a couple of years ago, I had a cold, and a friend said, and it was a mild cold, and a friend advised me to do a COVID check, and I was COVID positive, but even though I wasn't really sick, I still have a dry throat and a cough from it since then. What would you recommend?
Oh boy, we could do a whole seminar on COVID and what it's done to us. Um, I would recommend any of these things and try them pretty intensively for several days and see if that will do it. Unfortunately, whatever this was, and we're not going to get into that today, but whatever this was, uh, I thought if you avoided the vaccine, it's not a vaccine, sorry. If you avoided the shot, that you would not have after effects, but that is not holding true. Everybody that has had COVID is having some trouble with different ailments. A lot of people that are asthmatics are having their asthma flare much more often than what they've had in the past, and there's other things. So use the natural remedies, but I would do an intense burst of them and see if that will take care of it for you. But we're sort of experimenting. They can't hurt you. So unless you're on medicine that they shouldn't be interacting with. But other than that, it's worth trying, right? Well, I'm hoping that if you do an intense, like what you would do right when you're starting to come down with cold or flu, that you are doing these things multiple times a day. And I would do that for several days. And that's one thing that I forgot to tell you. When you're doing natural things, 2 rules that will help you. Number 1, start them as soon as you know. Do not wait until all of your symptoms have exhibited themselves. These are not going to hurt you except maybe your taste buds. If you take a flu bomb and you weren't coming down with the flu, that's okay. It's better to get them on board early, and then you must be consistent and continue them. One of the reasons that a lot of the natural remedies people will say, well, I tried that, but it didn't work, is that they take them for a day or two and then they quit. You must, when we take antibiotics, it's usually 7 to 10 days. The natural remedies need at least 7 to 10 days and sometimes longer. So persist. Go past days after your symptoms are gone. It's okay to continue to take garlic until you know that it's gone. Because then if you stop and it comes roaring back, maybe the garlic will help, or maybe you'll have to switch to some oil of oregano or something like that to get it to go away. So it's better to hit it early and keep it going. Okay, anything else? All right, I'm going to have Larry. Oh, I'm sorry, let me bring this to you. I didn't see your hand.
I had a question. So I'm allergic to honey, and do you have any suggestions of anything I could use to substitute that?
Okay, have you tried agave? Are you allergic to that? It does not have the healing properties, but it would be a good vehicle for some of the other things. I would try agave. Anybody else got an idea? Or molasses? Yeah, can you do molasses? Okay, either one of those should. Oh, her question was that she's allergic to honey. So we're talking about what else she could use. So we're recommending molasses or agave. Okay? What? Oh, date syrup. Larry's favorite new food, but we better study that. That may be a little too much. Okay. You don't need this. I'll hold it for questions.
Is it on now? Okay. Unfortunately, my slides are not coming up, so I'm going to try to wing it without them. And if you'll pray with me that they will come up, that'll be helpful. So I just wanted to have a little disclaimer here to start with. Oh, there it is on my screen. The content of this presentation is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any specific questions about any medical matter, you should consult your doctor or other professional healthcare provider. So, to start off with, how many in this room have ever had lower back pain? A lot of us. That probably fits with the statistics, which say that 85% of Americans will have lower back pain at least once in their lifetime. So, how do you take care of lower back pain? Hey, praise the Lord. Prayers work. God is good. Back in 2003, when we were living in Moses Lake, Washington, and we were getting ready to move to this part of the country, I had an opportunity to go to a course where I met this man, Richard Tigney. And I'm so thankful that I got to go to that course because he totally changed my paradigm on low back pain. Before then, I would give people exercises based on a hunch that maybe they would help them, but it was really based on just a guess for the most part. Back in 1900, most healthcare providers felt that lower back pain came from the sacroiliac joints in the pelvis. But as time went by, they started looking more at the spine and the discs in the spine, and the medical community moved away from that, from thinking that lower back pain was from the sacroiliac joints. Richard Tigney did a lot of study and recognized that the back pain does mostly come from the sacroiliac joints, and I would venture to say that even the spinal pain comes from the sacroiliac joints in most cases. Because when the pelvis is out of position, it throws everything else off. So if you can kind of see on the picture there, one side on the left there, the hip is higher than the right one. Well, it's the right one that's high, and the right shoulder is low. And then it throws off the hip and the knee too. So the sacroiliac joint being out of position creates a lot of issues in the body. And most people don't have any clue on how to correct it. And Richard Dontigny taught me how to correct it, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So, some of the common issues associated with pelvic asymmetry are lower back pain, thoracic spine pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, hip or groin pain, knee pain, and even Achilles tendon pain. I can't tell you how many people I've had with neck pain that come into me and they have really limited motion in their neck, and I'll check the motion. They may be able to move their head about this far to the left and maybe a little bit further to the right, and they can't hardly look up because they're in so much pain. And I don't touch their neck. I go to the sacroiliac joints and look and see if that's out of position, and if it is, I'll show them how to correct it. And then immediately afterward, I'll have them sit back in the chair, and most of the time their neck motion will be hugely improved just by correcting the sacroiliac joints. Because as you can see, or as you saw in that previous picture, it actually creates some scoliosis in the spine, and that can translate clear up into the neck. So think about these things if you have, if you have any of these issues. Think about correcting the sacroiliac joints with some exercise that I'm going to show you here in a minute. So, can pelvic symmetry be restored? Do you have to see a chiropractor? Is there anything you can do to help yourself? And the answer is a resounding yes. And here is one of the easiest ways to correct it. Lie down on your back. It can be on the bed. It can be on your carpet. And then bend one knee and pull the foot close to your hip, and just lift the hip on that side. And when you lift that hip, you're using muscles in your hip and your thigh, and they're attached to that side of the pelvis, and they're going to actually rotate the pelvic bone back into position on that side. And then you switch to the other side and do the same thing, and then switch back to the side you started on. Now, typically, the side that the pelvis is out of position on, the leg will act longer, as we saw in the previous illustration. So that's why the hip seems hiked, because that leg is acting longer. And have any of you ever been told that you have a longer leg? Do you think it's true? I used to believe that. I used to give my patients a little lift to put in their shoe to try to correct the leg length difference. But in most cases, unless you've had a serious injury, like I had a patient that had a motorcycle accident, he actually blew part of his femur out of his thigh, and he had a severe leg length difference because of that. But most people don't have a true leg length difference. It's only an apparent leg length difference because the pelvis is out of position. So you can actually correct that. I had one lady that used to have to hem her dresses a little bit differently on one side because she had a leg length difference. Now, that's using muscles to do the correction. This next way is also an easy way to do it, and it's using the same muscles, but now you're using them isometrically. So you grab the knee, sit down in a chair, maybe, or you can even do it standing if you're leaning against something for balance, or you can do it lying down, it doesn't matter. But you grab the knee and push the knee out against your hands, and you're using those same muscles, and you can correct the issue then that way too. Here's another easy way. Put one foot up on a chair and then reach both hands down toward the foot that's on the floor. And that will reposition the sacroiliac joint. And then one more, I call it widening the door. Back up against the door jamb and put your foot up on the opposite door jamb and push. It's as simple as that. Any of those only take a few seconds. Yes. All right. So, let me back up a little. There we go. It's backing up a little bit too far. All right. If you do those exercises at least once a day, you can probably prevent yourself from having back pain or pain in other areas of your body like we talked about. But if you're having an acute episode of simple low back pain, you'll probably want to do it at least a couple times a day. And especially if you start feeling the pain increasing again after you've done a correction, you'll probably want to take a moment to correct it again. But there is also a product called an active SI belt. And this product is really helpful for people who have an unstable sacroiliac joint. After I took that course in Moses Lake, I think it was my next to last week of working there before I was coming to a new job in Astoria. And I went back after having taken that course, and I had a patient that told me that she had lower back pain for a long time, and right in her sacroiliac joint area. And she couldn't do things like yard work or gardening or anything like that because she was in so much pain. So we got her one of these belts, and then we moved away. I didn't see her again after that, but she actually wrote to me. I think she had my email address, and she told me she was just amazed at how much that belt helped her, because once she got the joints into position, then put the belt on and cinched it up, it helped hold the joints where they belonged, and she could go out and do her work. So it's called an active SI belt because you're supposed to wear it during strenuous activity. And I found it to be really helpful several years ago when we were in Ecuador helping build a church down there, and I was laying block all day long. It's something that I'm not used to doing. And I wore that belt, and it kept my back from being in serious pain. You can order them online. There are several different vendors that sell them online. I don't know if you can buy them in a store, probably not, but they're going to cost you roughly $50. But if you're in a lot of pain, it's worth it. All right, let's talk about something else. How many of you have ever had plantar fasciitis? Ooh, quite a few hands. That's no fun, is it? I've never had it, but I've had sore feet. And the question is it plantar fasciitis or is it fasciosis? In one study of tissue samples, and I'll tell you what the difference means in a minute. In one study of tissue samples from 50 individuals who had had heel surgery, only one was found to have inflammation. The itis means inflammation. Okay, so do you know what the plantar fascia is? It's a tendon-like structure that starts at your heel and fans out toward the front of your foot. And it's at the heel attachment where you get most of the time plantar fasciitis or fasciosis. So really what it is that the tissue is damaged and dying due to lack of circulation. rather than being inflamed. So it sounds pretty serious, doesn't it? And it actually can be. It can really affect people's lives. I've had patients that can hardly do anything because they can't stand on their feet. So why would the tissue die? Well, every tissue in the body needs blood, doesn't it? So the blood supply somehow gets cut off or decreased, and it can be from prolonged standing on a flat foot or feet, can be from a tight muscle from constricting shoes that move the large toe toward the other toes, and blood flow to the insertion of the plantar fascia is partially interrupted. So, ladies, stop wearing those narrow-toed shoes. It's not a good idea. But there are things that can be done to obtain relief and healing from plantar fasciitis. So avoid those certain types of shoes. And taping, I'm going to show you how to tape for plantar fasciitis today if someone wants to be a volunteer. And then there's a device called an air heel. And there is also a Strasbourg sock or a similar device I'll show you. Then massage, contrast baths, and orthotics. So we'll talk about all of those things. So does anyone want to be a guinea pig for me, and I'll tape your heel? Jeannie? I have a piano bench here. You have a sock that you can remove for me? Okay. Doesn't matter. And thanks to Wanda, I have some tape because I forgot to bring it. If I can find the beginning of it. There it is. Okay, so let's say Jeannie had plantar fasciitis. What I'm going to do is start at the outside of her heel under the outer ankle bone. Right there. Can we see that? And that will show up on the recording, so if you want to see this later. So then I bring the tape around the back of her heel, and I'm going to rotate her heel bone toward the inside and put tension on the tape like that, and then bring the tape up and over the top of her foot and end up just above where we started. Just like that. Right. No, it's not a lot of tape, and it's really easy to do. Now, there is a lot more complicated way of taping the foot called low-dye taping, and you can find videos on how to do that, but this is an effective way to treat the plantar fasciitis. And you can leave tape on for 2 or 3 days as long as it doesn't irritate your skin. Okay, while we're at it, how many of you have ever had an ankle sprain? Quite a few. And most of the time, the ankle sprain is going to involve the lateral ankle, the outside of the ankle. So this is kind of a bonus of my presentation, but there's a physical therapist from New Zealand that postulates that the outer ankle bone actually gets wrenched forward a little bit by 1 millimeter or 2 in a lateral ankle sprain. And so to counteract that, you take tape, and this time you would tape it differently. You would start actually on the ankle bone, and you're just above the tip of the ankle bone, and then you kind of press that bone back with your thumb, and then bring the tape around, putting tension on it, and finishing like that over the top of the leg. And I've had patients walk in or hobble in to me with an ankle sprain, and I tape them like that, and they can walk out almost normal. So, thank you, Jeannie. All right. So, I'm sorry. Is that mic on? I can't hear
Would,
you.
would it work if you break your ankle as well?
The tape,
Yes. Would it help?
it might, depending on, where your ankle was broken and how long ago was the fracture?
I broke it twice, 10 years old and 5 years ago, but I still have lingering effects from that I cannot walk long distances. I'm a nurse, and sometimes it's very hard to finish my shift
Mm-hmm.
standing all day.
Yeah. I don't know. I would be interested to see if it would help you. It couldn't hurt to try it
Yes.
and see if it made a difference.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what did I do with oh, there it is, my clicker.
Yes, I have a
Judy.
quick question. My husband injured his Achilles tendon, and it's going on 4 weeks. He does heat, he does ice, he does the cream. He's not improving.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when I went to Dr. Google, it said that this type of injury can take quite some time to heal. I bought him what I thought was like an ankle brace,
Mm-hmm.
but he can't wear that and put on his barn boots, or, he's a farmer. So I don't know what to do. Does it just take time? Is he doing everything he can?
It does take time, and one of the things that might help him the most, have you heard of kinesiotape? Or kinesiology tape is the longer name for it. You can find kinesiology tape at Walmart, and you can also find how to apply it online on YouTube videos. It's really easy to find. So you may want to Google a YouTube video on Achilles tendon pain, and it'll show you how to apply that tape. Mm-hmm. In Oregon. Oh, well, I don't treat the public. I work at a paper mill. I take care of people in a paper mill. So I take care of the employees there. So I'm kind of semi-retired.
I was in an air cast for about 6 weeks, and it took a long time. Have you ever seen one of these? It's open on the front, and it's kind of a plastic thing. It's kind of a plastic thing that goes around the back of your leg with a sole on it, and it has these bags, and you use Velcro straps that go across the front to hold you in, and then it has these like air bladders down it, and then you connect a little hand pump, and you pump it up, and it squeezes your cast in place, so you can take it on and off. But wearing it is almost worse than the injury.
Can be. Well, speaking of air cast, for plantar fasciitis, the same company that makes the ankle braces makes an air heel device, they call it. And there's an illustration of it here. So it has 2 air chambers, one under the arch of the foot and one at the Achilles tendon. And there's a tube that attaches those air chambers together. So when you walk, you're putting pressure on the air chamber under your foot, and that pushes air into the one behind your Achilles tendon. So the air is moving back and forth as you walk, and it relieves pressure at the heel. And I've had a patient that told me that he couldn't function without the air heel. And so he loved it. And I've used that on some of my other patients too. So that's another device that's available that does help some people. I've had other people say it didn't really do much for them. But there's, oh, my slides keep advancing too fast. What about nighttime? If you've had plantar fasciitis, you know that when you get up in the morning after you've been in bed all night, that's the worst, isn't it? Stepping on your foot right out of bed. I've had people tell me they hobble for about, the first 5 steps, and then they get a little bit better. Well, there's a way to counteract that, and it's a plantar fasciitis night sock. And what it does is it puts gentle tension on the toes and helps hold the foot up while you're in bed, so that when you get out of bed in the night even, hopefully you won't have as much pain, because your body's trying to heal during the night when you're sleeping, and then you get up and you're tearing that healing tissue all over again. So the night sock helps to prevent that. Orthotics are also a big help for plantar fasciitis because they restore the normal arch to the foot. So I recommend Soul Support's custom orthotics. I think they're the best that money can buy. And there was likely a provider here in the Longview area. I don't know. But no, you'll probably have to see either a physical therapist or a chiropractor or somebody for Soul Supports. I do them out of my home in Oregon, but I don't know how many of you would like to drive to see me for that. But I don't charge what someone would normally charge for custom orthotics. They're usually $600 or $700 or $800 probably for a pair, but I charge $250, and I actually don't make any profit on that. The little profit I make, I give to a charity. So I just do it because I like to do it. Rick?
Fasciitis from wearing Romeos at work, and I thought, well, they're a good stiff shoe. They'd be good support. The doctor asked me what I was wearing at work. I was standing on cement all day. I told him, he said, that's the worst thing in the world you can wear.
Yeah.
And he told me to wear either Nike or New Balance cross trainers. It cost about $60 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, it just made all the difference in the world.
Good. Well, shoes are huge on plantar fasciitis. And I agree. I tried Romeo's one time myself. And I have a pair of Soul Support's custom orthotics myself because I stand on my feet a lot and they keep me from having pain. But I tried a pair of Romeo's one time in Fred Meyer. I always have my orthotics with me, so I put them in and took a few steps and they felt terrible, so I didn't buy them. So I don't really recommend Romeo's. For one thing, they don't have a removable footbed inside. So to try to put orthotics in on top of that doesn't usually work too well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. Well, I have some experience with Soul because my employer has a contract with a company in Camas that's what they provide for their employees. I don't think they're as good as Soul Supports, but they are helpful. So, yeah, I recommend Soul Supports, but I recognize also that there are other companies that make orthotics that can be helpful as well. I just think the Soul Supports are the best because they're not only customized to the shape of your foot, because we impress your feet into a foam, sort of like florist foam, and we do it in a certain sequence to capture the arch that we want, but they're also customized to your body weight. And I don't know of any other orthotic that's customized to your body weight. So in other words, the arch pushes up against the sole of your foot based on the amount of downward pressure from your body weight. And it's pretty amazing. They're also customized based on the flexibility of your feet. So people who have a really flat foot typically have a very flexible foot. So they build more rigidity into the orthotic to counteract that. Whereas somebody that has a high arch, which can also be helped by custom orthotics, because it distributes the weight of their body over the entire surface of the orthotic rather than it being on just the heel and the forefoot. So they're a really good product. I highly recommend them. Let's switch now to tennis elbow. How many of you have ever had tennis elbow? Okay, so a few of you. And again, tennis elbow is similar to plantar fasciosis in that studies have shown that there's really no inflammation in the tendon there on the lateral elbow. It's a disorganization of the fibers of the tendon. So we'll talk about what causes it. Is there something we can do to help? And you may be frustrated at how long it takes. So look at the left here. The tendon has a smooth parallel strand structure, whereas in tendinosis, the strands are twisted, scarred, shortened, and otherwise degenerated. This tissue, which requires 3 to 9 months to completely regenerate, appears black on an MRI. You don't want that. But there are things you can do to heal it or help promote healing. So self-help for tennis elbow is limit gripping and repetitive activities, use ergonomic tools and equipment, practice the 30-30 guideline, and that means for every 30 minutes that you're doing an activity, try to stretch in the opposite direction for 30 seconds. So with tennis elbow, since it involves the lateral elbow and the tendons there, the common extensor tendon is the tendon that actually brings your hand up like this. If you're doing activity that involves a lot of this, like I was in laying block, where I was using mortar mix and using a trowel, I got tennis elbow, and I treated myself, and it got better. But you want to stretch in the opposite direction then, so you can counteract it by doing this, okay? Whereas, you're using this tendon, your hand's going to be more in the extended position when you're using it. Connie already talked about drinking water, and that's very important, not only for your lateral elbow pain, but for your heel pain too, and for everything in your body. So you want the 1 ounce for every 2 pounds of body weight every day. Massage can also help, and you don't want to just rub your fingers over the tendon. You want to actually press hard enough that your skin is moving over the tendon, and then you're actually getting down deeper into the tendon structure. And a few minutes of that, you can actually produce an analgesic effect that can last for several hours. So that's a good way to treat it. And then, have you ever seen people wearing a strap around their forearm, a compression strap? Sometimes that's helpful. And then taping is also helpful. And you can find on YouTube, again, you can find methods of using kinesio tape or kinesiology tape to treat tennis elbow. And you can find it for all sorts of conditions, actually. But don't use don't use ice for tennis elbow, because ice is not going to be that helpful, but heat will produce more circulation in those tissues, and that's what you want, is to promote blood flow through them. And believe it or not, NSAIDs such as ibuprofen actually hinder the healing of things like tennis elbow and plantar fasciosis. So I don't recommend that you take those. If possible, avoid working with your arms straight and wrists angled upward like this. So you want to keep your arms more in toward your body, and try to keep your wrist in a neutral posture when you're doing your work. But don't snap your arm out straight like that. That's not a good idea. I don't think most people do that, though. But you also don't want to turn your palms up and down with your arms straight. So if you're doing an activity that requires that, you need to try to figure out a different way. And then don't carry things like this either, or like this. And repeated wrist and elbow motion patterns can lead to tennis elbow. Change the grip from overhand to sideward. So in other words, if you pick up a bucket, you typically pick it up like this. That's an overhand. But if you can carry it more in a neutral posture, that'd be better. Or carry it like this, because then you're going to be using your wrist flexors, which the flexor tendons, flexor muscle group is actually stronger than the extensor muscle group. And then stand or sit on a raised surface in order to reach downward rather than upward to complete a task. Vary motions in an activity in order to avoid repetition. Avoid twisting or wringing motions. And carry objects on your forearm with your palm up like we already talked about. Push or slide objects if carrying them can be avoided. Try to minimize carrying things. All right. That's the end of my talk there. I didn't talk, though, about all the things you can do for the plantar fasciitis. One thing is, how many of you have heard of contrast baths? Okay, it's contrasting between hot and cold. So you can sit in a chair and have a dishpan of really warm water to put your foot and ankle in. This works for ankle sprains too. Then have a dishpan of ice water. So you want to start with the warm water for 3 minutes, followed by 30 seconds of plunging it in the ice water if you can stand it. Then go back to the hot again, and you may need to have a tea kettle with hot water in it so you can keep adding hot so it stays really nice and warm. And do that a total of 3 rounds. So 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold. Do that back and forth. It's going to take you a little over 10 minutes to do it. That can help for, or you can use a racquetball to roll under your foot. That's another nice way to massage the foot. So, you could do that, a few times in a day. It's not going to hurt. If you have time, I'd do it a few times, and hopefully that'll help your symptoms go away more quickly. Are there any questions for me? Judy?
I have severe arthritis. I have a chronic disease. I have chronic Lyme disease, and I was diagnosed in 2010. And with chronic Lyme disease, sometimes you develop other autoimmune diseases. But suggestions for arthritis besides, whatever, fish oils, all the, I mean,
Have you heard of a paraffin bath?
no. But you got to be able to get in the bathtub and back up, and with the knee and the
No.
hip, you know.
Well, are you talking about for your hands or for?
Well,
For
it's bad in the hands, but I've also got arthritis in both of my knees, and my hip is degenerating, and I have a total right hip replacement.
mm,
Yeah, so I'm just kind of falling apart, you know.
mhm. Well, have you heard of boron for arthritis? There are people who say that boron really helps. So you might want to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can find it. But also eliminating oil from your diet can really help arthritis because oil. Mm-hmm. All oil. When you think about it, if you any oil that you use in cooking. So you could eat the flaxseed, but think about if you have oil in your cooking. Do you see it on your dishes? Do you see it on your pans? It coats things, doesn't it? It also coats the inside of your arteries and your arterioles. So we talked about blood supply to tissues. And when the blood gets to where it needs to go to be delivering the oxygen and the nutrients to those tissues, they're called arterioles, and they only allow a single red blood cell to flow through there, single file. So if you have oil in your diet, it can also make those red blood cells sticky. So they stick together, so they can't go through single file. So maybe only a few get through, and the rest sit outside. So that's why you end up having joint destruction, because the joint is not able to repair itself fast enough to keep up with the damage that's being done. So Connie has a personal experience. She had so much pain in her hands from arthritis that she couldn't play the piano. And now she does. So it took her 6 weeks, I think it was, of going oil-free, and all of a sudden I think she reached for her arthritis hand cream, and then she realized she hadn't needed it for a while. And she can now play the piano without pain. So if she still eats some oil, and if she eats too much, she starts feeling it in her hands. She could she could tell you how to cook without it. Okay. I think I'm probably done unless there are more questions. Okay. Yes. Oh, it's right. I don't know if they're online, but I can demonstrate it for you later today if you want. Or, well, I could demonstrate some of them right here. So let me grab this for you. Sorry, Connie. So the second one, you just grab the knee like this and push out. Okay? It's just an isometric contraction of those muscles in your glute and your thigh. You're pushing against your hands. Yep. And then the other one is like this, where you reach down like that. And even people that are having serious back pain, they say, wow, that feels good. And it does, it helps them. So then you can switch to the other side and do the same thing. You don't have to reach clear down to the floor. You're just letting yourself go there. You don't have to push into it. Because what that does is, if you can envision the sacrum, which is the wedge-shaped bone between the halves of your pelvis in the back, that's what your spine sits on top of. When you do this, when you have your hip flexed to 90 degrees and then you bend forward, the sacrum is going to tend to rotate forward, but the outside of the pelvis is going to tend to stay there, and then it'll correct itself. Because the joints are kind of irregular in shape, and so it's sort of like a stuck drawer. And all of you have experienced a stuck drawer, I'm sure, where you have to wiggle the drawer like this, and then it finally frees up. Well, the sacroiliac joints are connected. The whole pelvis is a ring. So what affects one side can affect the other side. And so when you do the corrections, that's why I say go back and forth. And then, if you have somebody help you, you can lie down on a bed, for example, and make sure that your legs are lined up with your torso. And then have somebody look at your inner ankle bones. They can put their thumbs under your inner ankle bones, and they can tell if one leg is longer than the other one, then you know that that's the side to start on. Okay? When you do this exercise, yeah, yep, it's a maneuver that repositions that joint. Okay, you're welcome. I can. I can do that. So, you just do that. That's all you do. And even if you're so weak that you can't lift it very far, it still will do the job. So it's pretty simple. I just lifted my hip on that side. You want me to do it again? So it's just lifting that side. And this side stays pretty much down on the floor. It comes up a little bit, but not much. It can, yes. Because when the pelvis is out of position, if the right ilium, we call it, that side of the pelvis, is rotated forward a little bit, the sciatic nerve comes through a notch in the pelvis, and it can actually tether the sciatic nerve a little bit, and that can irritate the nerve. So when you reposition the pelvis, then it takes that tension off the nerve, and I've seen it help people. So you want to do both sides. Go back and forth, like I was saying, sort of like a stuck drawer. Yes?
I know this might be maybe off topic, but would any of those exercises help with a frozen shoulder that I've heard?
With a forward shoulder?
Frozen.
Oh, frozen shoulder. I don't know that they would, but having your shoulder in correct posture could make a difference. Does somebody is anybody experiencing low back pain in the room right now? Okay. Do you want to be a subject for me and have me take a look at your posture, and I'll tell people how I'll show you how I kind of do an assessment. It's pretty simple. Yeah, that's fine. So, can you turn around toward the back of the church there? So one thing I noticed, and what is your name?
Sandy.
Sandy. Hi, Sandy. So notice here with Sandy that, can you see that one shoulder is lower than the other one? The right one? Mm-hmm. So that tells me that it's likely that her right leg is acting long, because remember the illustration on the screen? It showed the shoulder low on one side, the hip was high on that side. So if I get down here, yep, Sandy's high, her pelvis is high on the right.
We can't see what you're doing, Larry. Turn her sideways so we can see what you were looking at on.
Yeah, let's have you turn around. We'll see if we can see it better this way. Okay, so can you see it now? That her right pelvis is actually higher than her left. So that tells me that sorry, I have a phone call coming in. That tells me that you need to start on the right side with one of those exercises. So do you want to try one right now? Sure. So let me have you. Well, I won't have you lie down. I'll have you do it on the chair here. Do you want to try the one where you put your foot up, or do you want to try the one where you push your knee into your hands?
Well, since you're here to help me keep my balance, let's try the foot.
Okay. So,
hang on to you.
yep. Here, let me. So let's turn sideways toward it, and then put your right foot up on the stool there. Mm-hmm. Can you get it? There you go. Good job. Okay. Now can you lean forward and reach down toward your left foot? Yeah, reach down with both hands. Reach as. How does that feel?
I'm sorry. Am I supposed to get all the way down?
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
Okay. Now you can come back up.
Okay.
Okay.
Take it off.
Yep.
Okay.
Now let's turn around
Okay.
and do the left side. Okay, there you go. Now,
Too far out?
no, you're okay. Now reach down toward your right foot. Good. Okay. Now come back up. And let's turn around, and we're going to do the right side one more time. Okay? Hey, it went easier that time.
Yes, it did. I'm not quite as scared.
Good. You're doing great. Does it feel better this time?
Yeah, I think it does.
Good. Okay.
So it's a good thing to do.
It is a good thing to do.
Instead of just laying on the heating pads all the time.
Oh, yes. So now let's take a look at your posture again, Sandy. Face the back of the church there again. Look at that. Her shoulders are level now. Can you see that? And your pelvis is level too. Well, I'm not surprised because your body's position sensors have been so used to your body being out of position that this feels abnormal to you now. They'll catch up. They'll learn.
They'll learn.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You're welcome. She could use a chair that's a little lower. Sure. Yeah. But she could do the other ones too. If, you don't have to do all of those. You can just pick whatever works best for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you don't need to do that one. You could do the one where you lift the hip. Yep. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because of the cage and the surgery I had, you don't do that there that she had. To bend over like that is like it pops the cage out, or makes
Right.
things pop out of the cage and makes it worse. So
I
on
had
your
a,
back, lifting your legs up is
that would be
perfect.
perfect for you.
And the one where you did with pulling your legs, and
Yeah, just
even the one you showed with the wall one was a good
you could
one.
do this one too.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
this one wouldn't bother
Yeah.
you.
So just letting you know, anybody with surgery, be careful on the forward over bend.
Right.
Can pull your cage out.
I'll
Pull
tell
it-
you a quick
yeah,
story
yeah.
about a home health patient that I had years ago. She had had a total hip replacement. And when I got to her home to visit her, I found that she had no quad on that side. Her quad was knocked out. She couldn't do this. Her quad was basically paralyzed. And so I had her lie down on the bed, and her left leg looked to be about 1.5 inches longer than the right one. And so I called the surgeon and told him what I was seeing, and he said some not very nice words over the phone. He wasn't too happy. But I thought, because I asked him if I could do some manual traction to try to reposition the sacroiliac joint on that side, and he didn't want me to. So I thought, well, how can I do this without violating her hip precautions? So I just had her lift the hip on that side, because you don't want to flex the hip past 90 degrees after a hip replacement. Well, she did that, and within a few days, she was able to walk, and she got all of her quad function back. And I think probably what happened during the surgery is that they moved the sacroiliac joint out of place and didn't realize it. And it was stuck there, and it was affecting her femoral nerve. So she lost the use of that quad, but it started recovering pretty fast after we got things back where they belonged. So, yeah.
Yeah, we won't
Well.
get into that. Yeah, we need to wrap it up. So, you have another question for him?
So would you check my sacrum, because I've had 5 back surgeries, and I want to show you something.
Okay.
Well, we're going to, after he checks her, you are welcome to line up and stay if you want a free consult from Larry. But we're going to bring the seminar to a.
Diamond right here, you lay your hand and you keep this diamond right, that you can bend over from the hip, not from the back. And a lot of people bend over from the back and they don't even think about their hips.
That's true.
But you stretch up your hips and you bend from the hip,
Mm-hmm.
you bend over.
Right.
And,
That's good.
and that's what
That's
I
called
do.
hip hinging.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's a big difference, because I've got cages, and my back has actually got 1.5 inches where there's absolutely no spinal fluid running through it.
Wow.
So am I in the right place?
Well, let me see.
Danny's a rare specimen.
Looks
Okay,
like
well-
your right shoulder's low also.
Yeah. While they're doing that, I wanted to offer, if you have anyone that is
Your right
sick
side.
right now at
So you
home
could do one of the
and you
corrections
want
and
some of the
it would fix
natural
that.
remedies that you sampled, we have some that we could share with you, because nobody's sick at our house right now. So, and it only keeps for a couple days in the refrigerator, and it's best to use it the same day. So see me afterwards. And whoever wants to know how to go oil-free, I'd be happy to share my experience with you and what I've done, because I can make most of the foods that I used to make, except not using oil. I use quite a bit of tahini, which works well and does not aggravate my arthritis. So, anyway, I want to thank you all for coming. I hope you've learned some helpful tips that will make your life easier and more healthy. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time we've had together. We are so grateful for the knowledge that you have given us, and I pray that as each person goes home, you will keep them safe and bless them as they share these with their family and friends. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you all for coming.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it very much. Oh, absolutely. Yes. We voted for that too.
You're welcome. Good to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
Good.
I go in the 24th for knee surgery.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
What kind of?
It's the right, well, they call it a total knee replacement, but they just move the kneecap to the side and
Mm-hmm.
still